Good morning, Tampa Bay. What is going on? Happy Hump Day edition, October 12th, Wednesday, of course. Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. You know me, I am Danny. Tough outing last night. Tough outing for our Tampa Bay Lightning last night. We'll get into that in a moment. The Orlando Magic continue to improve. They continue to look like they are rolling as we go through and trek towards the regular season opener, which is just next Wednesday already. Next Wednesday in Detroit against another team that's rebuilding in the Detroit Pistons. And then I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little Bucks. I said this early in the season when I gave my predictions for how I thought the Buccaneers were going to fare this season. And I know a lot of you got upset. And I know a lot of you got upset because I said that they would lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I still feel like that actually and ultimately can remain true. And this is like the ultimate trap game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But before we jump into that, we'll get into that in the latter half of the show. 3-1 loss to the Lightning, guys. Not how you wanted to start. And look, this is the Lightning are typically one of the better regular season opening teams in NHL history. Going into a hostile environment in New York, going against the Rangers. Yeah, it would have been nice to pick that one up. But I mean, Deandra said yesterday, it's a long season. The Lightning they're in it for the long game. That's what they're playing. John Cooper, Stamkos, and the entire bunch. They're playing the long game. They're playing to get into the playoffs because they know how to win in the playoffs. And that's what that boils down to. Her and Henry, we released their predictions yesterday. Neither of them have the Lightning winning the Atlantic Division, and that's okay. You don't need to win the Atlantic Division to get to the playoffs, right? Like, that's not what we need. So when you look at that, you go, yeah, would it have been nice to start the season off with a dub? Of course it would have been nice. But it didn't. It's not the end of the world, right? It's an 82 game season. It's just like basketball. Like there's 81 games remaining. They're going to clean it up, and largely could be because maybe New York is getting a little bit better. Maybe the Rangers are improved, right? Like maybe, just maybe, this team in New York, they talked about it. I mean, they talked about it ad nauseum again last night, but the kid line. Well, guess what? Every year they get older, they're getting more experience. Zibanejad last night was very close to a hat trick on a couple of occasions after we pulled the goalie. After Vazzy came out, empty net, all Zibanejad needed to do was knock it in from the other side of the ice, and he damn sure tried. But it's not the end of the world. It's a bounce back game, right? Like bounce it back. We've got Columbus next. You have Columbus on the 14th. Like it'll be okay. Columbus on Friday. Look to bounce back. And we've got to remember. We have to remember there are new lines in this team. There's new lines currently right now. So everything is going to look a little wonky at the beginning of the season. They didn't get much time together in the preseason. Like Stammer didn't play much. Obviously, he didn't need it. He scored the goal on the power play last night. But there's things that need to be cleaned up. Obviously, you can't take 4 penalties. They did go 3 of 4 on the penalty kill, which is nice. But 1 of 6 on the power play. That to me says, okay, yeah, we need to address the power play heading in. Brandon Hagel Brandon Hagel drew 2 penalties on one play, which was pretty remarkable. But you got to work on the power play. You know, the Bolts were very good on the power play last year, and 16% right now is obviously after one game. Like, we have to keep that focus. It's 1 out of 82 games. But statistically, they're sitting at 16%. Not ideal. That's not exactly where you want your team to be, right? Thank you for everybody who is tuning in. If you can, hit that thumbs up button on the YouTube page. That'll pop and promote the live streams every morning. And that will tell YouTube, hey, we want more Channelside sports content. We want to see more. And we want other people to see the Channelside sports content and jump in the chat and chop it up with us and chop it up with Danny. But they still looked sluggish to me. That was the big thing, is the Lightning still looked a little sluggish. And I know that they still, like, the narrative Henry and I talked about yesterday of the Lightning have played more hockey than any other team, that still remains true because they were in it until the very end again last year. So that's not going to go away. The mileage is still there. The mileage is still racking up. And it probably will. It should rack up again this season as well. I think we all expect a deep playoff run, if not a Stanley Cup run, right? Like at the very minimum, I think the expectations are a deep playoff run for this Lightning team. With not an off chance, but they're 5th favorites to win the Stanley Cup. So that's not an off chance to win the Stanley Cup. Those are pretty decent odds to win the Cup and bring Lord Stanley's Cup back to bask in the sunlight of Tampa Bay. But they're still sluggish. They said something about it just seemed off to me. Like they seemed slow. And perhaps it's just because the Rangers are that much younger. Perhaps it's just because the Rangers are that much faster, right? Like, we know that the Lightning are a finesse team. We know that the Lightning are a finesse team, right? Like, that's what we know about the team. They're not fast. They're gritty. They're smart. They're methodical. And they're finesse. That's the Lightning team in a nutshell. And then they've got the best damn goalie in the world. I don't care if you want to chant Igor's better. That's fine, whatever. But he's not. Igor's got a long way to go to be better than Andrei Vasilevsky did. I wish they would have addressed a little bit more of the speed. Because I feel like that's going to be their Achilles heel again this season. As these teams are getting younger and these teams are getting faster, the Lightning aren't getting any faster. They're getting a little old. I guess their average roster age has remained the same because they have, the core is there, but then they'll bring in some younger guys, etc. But they're not bringing in like younger speed guys. And speed kills, right? That's the thing. Speed kills. It's going to burn you. We saw it that's arguably the reason why the Rangers, Maple Leafs, both of those series went to 7 games. It's because of the speed. They didn't get there because they're better teams. They got there because they were just outplaying the Lightning at that late in the postseason. They had already gone through 82 games. Obviously, Cooch missed like 40 games or so. I think he played 47 games last year. So he was a little fresher. But Stammer is in his 15th season? He's been playing in the league since he was 17. They got to address the speed. And we know John Cooper. John Cooper is arguably the most intelligent head coach in the NHL. He understands the game from a different aspect. Like he's like a human sabermetric, right? Because we talk about the sabermetrics in baseball all the time. And, instead of using gut instincts, that's what they use. But John Cooper is literally like a human version of the sabermetrics, where he can apply all of those analytics. He can apply all of that stuff, but still use human emotion, still use gut feeling, still use all of those things that a machine doesn't have, making John Cooper a machine in himself. So we know that they'll right the wrongs. We know that they'll clean up. We know that they'll get better. And we know that we're looking for a bounce back on Friday night from the Tampa Bay Lightning. You know, losing in every... This was the hard part, was losing basically in every metric is where they lost, except block shots, which we can safely assume that the Lightning are going to win in blocked shots pretty much every game. It's going to be pretty routine. They were outshot 39-26. Anytime you're outshot, and there were times where the Rangers had them doubled up. You know, so the Lightning, obviously, they have more opportunities later on in the game to kind of close that in. But 39-26, they were out hit 24-19. The face-off battle, that's part of the issue. You know, Zibanejad's second goal was questionable. You know, they wanted him thrown out of the face-off circle for jumping the gun. He didn't. He won the face-off, got the puck back, was wide open, got his second goal of the game. You know, if you're only going to win 36% of the face-offs, it's going to be a tough day at the office, especially when they're in your own defensive zone. We touched on the power play, 1 of 6, 16% is not going to. It's not going to do it. You know, obviously, you know, one of the first Zibanejad goal was the shorthanded goal. Those always suck. There's no, you know, there's really nothing that you could say about about a shorthanded goal allowal. Of course, we talked about the 4 penalties. Got to clean those up as well. You know, 4 penalties is not going to. It's not the end of the day when you're on 6 power plays, but obviously you want to have your opponent have a man advantage less often, right? Like, imagine if they had 2 penalties. Imagine if it was 6-2 in penalties, right? Block shots 22-12. So, like, again, we knew that this was going to happen. We know that the Lightning love to use the body to block shots. 19-8 in takeaways in favor of the New York Rangers. That's not good. 15-17 in favor of the Lightning in terms of giveaways. But yeah, again, you know, the Rangers are just kind of out skating. They kind of outskated the Lightning, and that's to me, that's where the game became difficult to win for the Lightning, is just being outskated by a faster team. So like I said, we'll see what happens on Friday. We'll bounce back. Hopefully go up 1-1. Indiana and then we'll see. There's realistically there's no other way for you to discuss that. Quarter of the hour, we're gonna jump into the Orlando Magic, and then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about the Buccaneers and the potential trap game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But nonetheless, the Orlando Magic improved to 3-1 in the preseason, and they look to end it on a high note also on Friday in Cleveland. So, you know, both the Magic and the Lightning will be in Ohio on Friday. Isn't that nice? 3-1 in the preseason. And I know a lot of people are going to go, yeah, but it's preseason. Preseason's very important when you're rebuilding. I don't know who told you it's not important when you're rebuilding and you've got a young group of players. I don't know who told you it's not important. But look them in the face and slap them across the face, because it is very much an important preseason when you're rebuilding. because this is the time where you're assessing where exactly are we? Are we playing our starters against some teams' second string players? Some teams' bench players? Yes. How are we stacking up against these guys? Are our starters, are they playing well? Are they playing better? That's right. The Magic are. Thank you, Corey. The Magic are at home. That's right. I got my notes all jumbled. So what happens when you set an alarm in the morning, and apparently it's a silent alarm now. I don't. Thanks, Apple. But this is what you come to expect. You know, Wendell Carter Jr. looks like he's coming for the Most Improved Player of the Year award. I mean, he's been putting in work all preseason. He looks like he looks like he has elevated his game to another level. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but how good does Franz Wagner look right now? Like how beneficial was playing for Germany to Wagner? Right? Like the chemistry between Dell and between Wagner is off the charts right now. And we're 4 preseason games in, and that's it. You know, Wagner was close to a triple-double last night. Dell was closing in on a double-double and wasn't too far off from a triple-double. Every single starter for the Orlando Magic last night, every starter was in double digits. This is what you could not have asked for a better situation to be in. John Morant played last night. Right? John Morant played, so Steven Adams played. Like everybody played last night. Right? And oh, by the way, Jalen Suggs is out. Markelle Fultz is out. Jonathan Isaac didn't play. Is Jonathan Isaac going to come back, and is he going to play with a vengeance? Who knows? We don't know. Maybe. But it would be a luxury to have somebody like a Jonathan Isaac, who is a number 5 overall pick, come back and play to that level. It would be very nice to see that. Would it not? Paulo Banchero, 17 points, 6 of 9. Told you he was going to clean that up a little bit. It was plus 10, 9 boards, 2 assists. Of course, talked about Wagner, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Delled 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. 8 assists from your center is it's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's to me, that's exactly what it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Cole Anthony had 12 points, 4 boards, and 2 assists. And then Terrence Ross, of course, got it done with 17 points, 3 boards, and 1 assist. Bol off the bench. 9 points off the bench. 1 of 1 from 3. Caleb Houston. 3 of 4 from 3. 5 of 6 total from the field. 13 points off the bench in 19 minutes. Like this is starting to develop into something special. And I'm telling you, I don't know how many times I got to say this, but I'm going to say it one more time. Go to whatever sports book you use and smash the over button on 26.5 wins for this Orlando Magic team. Smash the over. Don't smash it too hard. Don't break your mouse or your computer, but you know what I mean. There's no way that this team does not go well over that. The odds are in your wallet's favor if you want to bet $10, $100, $1,000, whatever you want to bet on the Magic making the playoffs, you will get a very nice return. And just remember, very much like when you purchase lottery tickets and you tip the store or you tip the person who gave you that lottery ticket, that's me. You're very welcome for that advice. Smash the over. This team is coming in. They're coming into its own. Like they really are. You can man. Jonathan Isaac, obviously, we've got to see when exactly he's going to come back. He's listed as day to day. This is what we have kind of grown to expect out of Jonathan Isaac. And maybe he comes back and maybe he doesn't get injured again. But for right now, he is arguably the most injured player in the NBA, as he's missed 2 full seasons. Or damn near or damn close to 2 full seasons, right? I don't know. The Magic team they're creating something special in Orlando, and they're going to shock a lot of teams. Maybe before next Wednesday, before the season kicks off, we'll try to do some sort of schedule prediction. Actually, yeah, I'll definitely do that, and we'll have our Orlando Magic beat writer Corey Hayes. We'll have him throw out his prediction for the season as well in terms of wins, losses, and how the team stacks up, in terms of who's going to lead in statistical categories and things of that nature. But I'm telling you, this is what you want to see from a young team. Is you want to see a young team putting it together. There was no point in the game, if you're looking at the win probability, there is no point in the game in which the Orlando Magic were not projected to win the game last night against the Grizzlies. 31, they put up 31 in the first quarter. 32, and the Grizzlies outscored them in the remainder. Right? The Grizzlies outscored them in every other quarter. But coming out hot and coming out of the gates quick, that's what realistically set this game apart. Is outscoring them by 14 points. Second quarter was 30-23 in favor of Memphis, 24-23 in favor of Memphis, and then 34-32 in favor of Memphis. If you're able to come out of the gates hot and then match the team for the remainder of the game, I mean, proof's in the pudding. That's where you want to be. It's exactly where you want to be. Oh, Bane had 33 points. Morant had 23 points. I mean, this was a regular day at the office for the Memphis Grizzlies. So don't tell me that, it's preseason, they didn't care. Don't tell me that. Steven Adams with 10 boards. Don't tell me that it didn't matter because it's a preseason game. Second to last preseason game, that matters. The last preseason game certainly matters. If you're a team like the Magic, or you're a team like the Pistons or the Thunder or the Rockets, or you're one of these teams that are rebuilding, the preseason matters. So again, don't let anybody tell you that it doesn't matter and go, it's just the preseason. Nobody cares about the preseason. Just because you don't care about the preseason doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. This is when the guys are developing their chemistry at game speed. I said this all training camp when I was talking about Kyle Trask. Give him every single snap during the preseason. It doesn't matter it does not matter if you're breaking down starters versus starters in practice. Game speed is a different beast. And we're seeing right now what our Orlando Magic are doing at game speed and against the Memphis Grizzlies starters. Go ahead, look at the box score from last night. There's no one player that is like, oh man, this is like the superstar of the team. This guy is going to run the team. He's going to take over. Look at the box score. Look at how well-rounded the Orlando Magic are right now. Will that change in the future? Maybe it changes. But look at how well-rounded the team is right now. Everybody's doing their part. And that's exactly what it couldn't be any more picture perfect. Excuse me. It couldn't be any more picture perfect. It really could not be. I don't know what more we need to be excited for the regular season. I don't know what else we need to get more excited for the regular season. Let's see how Friday finishes. Obviously, we'd like to finish on a high note, right? We'd like to finish with another win, improve to 4-1 in the preseason, jump out to a quick lead. Detroit Pistons, like I said, the Pistons are also they're also rebuilding. In terms of draft picks, the Pistons might be ahead of the Magic, but the Magic have been making trades, right? They got Dell from Chicago. Like they've been. I don't know how you don't look at this team right now and get excited. That's the thing. That's the thing for me. What do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've got 7 games in October. I would like to see at least 4-3, but I realistically, if I'm looking, Detroit's beatable. Atlanta, to an extent, is beatable as well. I think they lose to Boston. New York is beatable. Cleveland is going to be different now with Donovan Mitchell. You know, the Magic might be able to sneak one off of them. Charlotte is winnable. Dallas is winnable. I mean, they're kind of all winnable games up until you get to Golden State on November 3rd. They're all very winnable games. Oklahoma City on November 1st. Like I'm not saying they're going to start out 8-0. You know, if you get through October and you're 4-3, I'm happy. If you're 5-2, which I think a realistic expectation of saying like, hey, this team is actually going to be better than we expected is to finish October, start and finish October 5-2 in the regular season. I think that to me is what solidifies and says, okay, yeah, we're on to something. That's how I envision it. I'm okay with it. I'm definitely okay with a 5-2 start. 4-3, 5-2. That's where my heart is kind of lying right now. But you know, regular season is a little bit of a different beast. I haven't been keeping tabs on any other team. I guess a little bit of the Pistons, but I haven't really been keeping tabs on any other team, so I can't tell you like, oh yeah, well, you know, New York has really made some adjustments and they shifted their line. I don't care about the Knicks. Right? I don't care about the Knicks. So I'm not watching what the Knicks do. But what I am watching is a 109-105 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies last night, which would have been a loss for the Magic last season. These are the small wins. These are the things that you're looking for from your rebuilding squad. They would have lost this because it was a close game. Nobody lost more close games in the NBA last year than the Orlando Magic. Nobody lost more 1 or 2 possession games than the Orlando Magic last season. 109-105. I mean, if this was last year, it would have been a 105-109 game in favor of Memphis, but it wasn't. So let's look ahead, man. Let's get excited. Smash that over button and then thank me later. As we hit the bottom of the hour here, this is going to piss a lot of people off, especially if you missed when I released the Buccaneers record prediction right before the regular season started. I pegged the Buccaneers to lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm not entirely sure they should win. right? Like let's start by saying the Buccaneers should win on Sunday. But this is very much the ultimate trap game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. The Pittsburgh Steelers are absolutely reeling. The Pittsburgh Steelers are playing piss poor. TJ Watt is out. Matt Canada might be the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. He really might be the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. They struggled last year. You know, if it wasn't for Najee Harris last year, I think Pittsburgh sends Ben home with like feeling terrible. Right? At least they kind of got to go out on a high note. But Matt Canada is just not a good offensive coordinator. You know, we thought that on Sunday, we thought that it was going to be a tune-up game for the Bucs against the Atlanta Falcons on both offense and defense. You know, I've got the stats are literally right here in front of me. The Falcons had 19 total first downs. 10 of them were by rushing. 7 by pass and 2 by penalty. Marcus Mariota passed for 147 yards. The defense in the secondary, they did well. They got it done. You know, Drake London led the way for 4 receptions for 35 yards. That was their day. That was their big moment was Drake London. Marcus Mariota passed for 147 yards, but the team ran for 151 yards. The Buccaneers defense was so dominant the first 2 weeks that despite getting torched by the Kansas City Chiefs, actually the first 3 weeks, because they didn't really allow the Packers to do much of anything, but they got torched by the Chiefs, and Atlanta moved the ball. I mean, kind of decently, at least on the ground. But their defense was so dominant in the first 3 weeks that they're still number 6 overall on defense. But it could be, and it should be better. They should be a top 3 defense. With the way that they started off the season. Now we know Mike Edwards has a shoulder. He's going to be gone for a little bit. But it still starts, you know, Luke Gedeke, again, he's still after he hasn't looked, and I know I'm tough on Luke. He's a rookie. And not every single rookie is going to have a Tristan Wirfs like rookie season. They're just not. Not every rookie is going to look like Penei Sewell. And Luke hasn't had he has not had an easy start to the season. He's had Chris Jones. He's had Kenny Clark. Like he had Grady Jarrett on Sunday. And oh, by the way, he's going to have Cameron Hayward on Sunday. So the Steelers are definitely going to look to exploit that mismatch again. You know, and it's unfortunate that Luke that Luke, maybe it's good in the long run, but right now there is no worse offensive lineman, whether it be a center or tackle. There is no worse offensive lineman in the NFL currently right now than Luke Gedeke. And it's unfortunate because we all had high expectations for him coming into the season, but when you're thrust into a position with literally no experience playing against all pros and Pro Bowls and Pro Bowlers, like, it's going to be a tough day at the office. And he doesn't realistically have, he's had 6 very difficult matchups. to start the season. Of course, I'm foreshadowing the sixth game, but there's no way that Cam Hayward doesn't come in and doesn't wreak havoc, right? There's no way that happens. Tom Brady's time to throw has improved a little bit. Thank you to the Giants, who got all kinds of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady's time to throw. He is no longer worst in the league. He's third worst, which is good. I mean, small wins. You got to take the small wins when you're talking about when you're moving along. Tom Brady is now up to third in the league in passing. You know, I talked about this, I believe, on Monday, where somebody asked me if Tom Brady can lead the league in passing yards. I still don't know if he can lead the league in passing yards because Josh Allen is just playing out of his mind. But I think that I certainly think he can get to second and possibly close in on first. You know, at some point you have to assume if Buffalo's going to make Josh Allen their leading passer and their leading rusher, at some point he's going to get tired. He's going to start getting nagging injuries because not only is he your quarterback, he's your starting running back at this point now too, because Singletary and Moss can't get it done. I don't know if Tom Brady will lead the league again. On paper, it should be a no-brainer. Obviously Julio Jones hasn't played. He struggled. Brady and Gage struggled to get on the same page on Sunday. But this is the kind of game where you can overlook the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers and say, yeah, they don't know who their quarterback is. They've got the worst offensive coordinator. TJ Watt is out. Their defense has been playing a little suspect. This is the kind of game where if you don't have a Tom Brady-esque player to get your guys right, or a Mike Evans-esque player to get your guys right, this is the kind of game that can creep up on you and end before you know it with you on the losing side. Now, should this be the tune-up game that we were all expecting against Atlanta? It should be the tune-up game. Atlanta should have been the tune-up game. It largely wasn't. Atlanta ran all over our defense. We did the work in the secondary, but also Marcus Mariota just the week before only completed 7 passes. So is it realistically, did they hold Marcus Mariota to 147 passing yards, or was that by design? I feel like a lot of that was by design. I don't know. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are worse currently than I expected them to be. I was expecting Matt Canada to kind of pull his head out of his ass. And the Steelers, with all of the offensive weapons that they have, because they've got a good arsenal of offensive weapons. With all of those guys that they have, I was largely expecting the Steelers to be better than 1-4, but still be much worse than the Buccaneers, and it'd still be a trap game that could get away from the Buccaneers. I also thought that the Buccaneers were going to start the season 3-1. Not go 2-2 to start the season during that 4-week gauntlet run to open the regular season. It was close to 3-2, or it was close to 3-1, but they just didn't quite get there. I think I'm more comfortable with saying the Buccaneers will win now over the Steelers than I was heading into the season. And I know, like I said, I know it's not a popular pick to say, well, I mean, hey, the Steelers, guys, the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is the trap game because the Steelers are better than 1-4. Mike Tomlin is the winningest coach in his first 16 years in the NFL. In history, he's the winningest coach. He knows what he's doing. He can get it done. Is Kenny Pickett going to get it done? Like, is Najee Harris going to come out? There's a lot. The Steelers, for all the questions that we have about this Buccaneers team, the Steelers have the same questions and then some. I don't think anybody's questioning Byron Leftwich. Everybody's questioning Matt Canada. I know some people are now currently questioning Todd Bowles. Nobody's questioning Mike Tomlin. I mean, nobody. And if you're questioning Mike Tomlin, you just don't understand how the Pittsburgh Steelers operate. There's been 3 coaches ever for the franchise. There should be no questions about Mike Tomlin. He ain't going anywhere. Mike Tomlin will go somewhere when he wants to go somewhere. Right? Like that's the thing. Is Julio Jones going to come out? I think what Jason Light and Todd Bowles said about Julio Jones puts it perfectly into perspective. Yeah, he's been healthy enough to play the last 2 weeks, but we want to make sure that he is 100% and he doesn't come in for a week and then miss 2 weeks and then come in for a week and miss 2 weeks. We want Julio Jones for, a long period of time. And I saw somebody commented on Facebook, on one of our posts on Facebook. It was like, have you guys forgotten who Julio Jones is when he's on the field? Have you forgotten who he is? This is the guy that used to wreck us. Julio Jones would destroy the Buccaneers. He would destroy the entire league. Right? Like, let's not forget when Julio Jones is on the field, let's not forget who he is. Let's not forget that. I feel like that's the big, like, that's the thing for a lot of Bucs fans is, and I see this all the time. I see this more and more. Why did we sign Julio? We should have re-signed Gronk. Well, Gronk doesn't want to play. That's your first key indicator. Rob Gronkowski does not want to play. Julio Jones is always injured. Well, guess what? Julio Jones and Rob Gronkowski have played the same amount of years, and Rob Gronkowski has missed more games than Julio Jones has. If you don't believe me, go check out the stats. Go look at game logs. Julio Jones has played in more games in the same amount of time in the NFL than Rob Gronkowski has. So if we're going to use this, Julio Jones is always injured, we should have signed Rob Gronkowski. The questions that the Buccaneers have is with the offensive line. The Buccaneers don't have questions at wide receiver. The Buccaneers don't have questions at tight end. Cade Otton put in work on Sunday. He absolutely put in work. Let's not forget, Kyle Rudolph is coming off of an injury as well. He only had 1 target. What if Kyle Rudolph, the veteran Kyle Rudolph, and the veteran Tom Brady get on the same page? What happens then? Cameron Brate didn't play. He was also inactive. Like, man, like there's good things coming. Right? There's plenty of good things coming for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Plenty of golden opportunities. But it starts on Sunday to actually right the wrongs, right the ship, correct the course. The ship should be sailing west to Arizona, because that's your ultimate goal, is to get to Arizona, not for the Christmas Day game, but for the Super Bowl. If you're the Buccaneers, you want to play in Arizona 2 times this year. That's your ultimate goal. Rashad White's snap count is improving. He's been much more versatile in the passing game, even though Leonard Fournette caught a career high 10 catches. There are a lot of positives to the team, but they didn't correct enough of the wrong stuff on Sunday against the Falcons to where anybody should feel overly confident and overly comfortable. That's where I'm at, because I try to be as realistic as possible. Do I like to drink the Kool-Aid? Yeah, I like to drink the Kool-Aid. We all like to drink Kool-Aid. But I also like to be realistic. And I like to look at all aspects of the game. So if you look and you say, okay, is Najee Harris better than any of the running backs that played against the Buccaneers? The answer is absolutely yes. Najee Harris is better than any of the running backs that the Atlanta Falcons have. If Cordero Patterson's playing, maybe we have a debate. Different kind of running game, though. Najee Harris is going to cause fits for the Buccaneers on defense. Antoine Winfield was the highest graded secondary player in terms of pass rush and pressure and tackles on Sunday. Antoine Winfield Jr. was playing he was on another planet on Sunday. If he continues that, another guy starts stepping up. I mean, guys, that should have been the get right game against the Falcons. We all knew. And I say we all knew because I've been telling you guys this. I've been telling you this for I don't know how long. The Atlanta Falcons were going to be better than anybody was giving them credit for. But the Buccaneers are that much better than the Falcons to where it should have been a domination. It should have been dominating. We shouldn't be talking about Grady Jarrett's roughing the passer penalty because that should have been a non-factor in the game. It should have been a non-factor. The Buccaneers should have wiped the floor with the Atlanta Falcons, and they didn't. And that's what makes me nervous about the Pittsburgh Steelers because the Steelers should be better than the Falcons, and the Steelers are much better than their 1-4 record states. That's the part that scares me. That's why I initially, before we knew anything, before we knew that the Bucs were going to struggle offensively, before we knew that the defense was for some reason just going to fall apart in terms of stopping the run, that's why I picked the Steelers to upset the Buccaneers before the season started. Did we know that the Steelers were going to have all these problems? No, I didn't. And that's why it's the Bucs should win the game. But I would not be shocked if the Steelers made it more interesting than the Falcons and or possibly got an upset win over the Buccaneers. Because where the Steelers don't have question marks is where we have question marks. The Steelers don't have any question marks on their defensive line. We've got all of the question marks on our offensive line. Tom Brady might be Tom Brady might be under duress a lot. He might be hurried a lot. Nobody's giving up more hurries. Nobody's giving up more pressures than Luke Gedeke. Cam Hayward is a fantastic defensive lineman. Cam Hayward is better than Grady Jarrett. Cam Hayward might be the second best defensive lineman that Luke Gedeke has played against this year. And he's not played well against any of them because look, like I said, I said it at the beginning of the Buccaneers segment, is Luke Gedeke has not had an easy road at all to start the season. In terms of performance and in terms of matchups. He's not had an easy day, and it gets harder on Sunday. Maybe bring in an extra tight end so you can chip over Tristan Wirfs to help him out. Maybe that's what we got to do. I'm not sure. We'll talk about it more, obviously, as the week rolls on. Tomorrow is going to be Thursday, so you know that it is a Week 6 pick'em. Can't be more excited than that. I love pick'ems. I hope you love pick'ems too. You guys already you guys already know the drill. Follow this Channelside Sports Network on all of the social media platforms and never miss a beat from Tampa's next generation of sports talk. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow. Make sure you tune in, tag a friend, tell a friend, hit the thumbs up, smash the subscribe button. And if you want to win a few bucks, go to any sports book and smash the over on the Orlando Magic winning more than 26 games. I am Danny. We will do it all over again tomorrow. This is Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network.